Should we let Alex speak? Oh man, we're
Wait
letting
a
Alex
second.
up here
No,
to
no
speak,
avocado toast?
and he's gonna be on stage and cry about his avocado toast that costs $29.
That avocado toast was like $4 because I went and bought the ingredients at the grocery store. Thank you very much. What's up, everyone? Hope y'all are doing well. It's nice to see we got a packed house over here.
We do. I actually I've got some questions.
About avocado toast or?
No, about nerdy stuff. About crypto stuff.
Nice. I like those
So
questions too.
it might be a stupid one. So it might be stupid questions, but let's ask them anyways. Can I set up a Syscoin node? Or do I get to mine it exclusively?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can set up a Syscoin node. Anyone can, and the hardware requirements are actually pretty reasonable. You know, using off the shelf PC, right? So, if you wanted to run one on, say, a virtual private service, really doesn't cost that much. You know, that's part of the design and how we keep it decentralized. So you can certainly run a full node. As far as mining it, since it's merge mined, you would be competing against some Bitcoin mining pools that have quite a lot of hash rate, right? So that might not be as attractive to someone that's, you know, just kind of small timing it. Running a Masternode would be much more lucrative, probably.
Okay, and so if I run, and this is going to probably be a stupid question, but I'm going to ask anyways because there's probably other people that they're thinking this too. Because Syscoin is merge mine, so that means you get to mine Syscoin and some other stuff. But when you're running a node, it's just that the only rewards that you're earning is essentially Syscoin for running that node, right?
If you run a standard full node that isn't a master node, in other words, it's not collateralized by 100,000 sys that you own, then you're not really earning anything. I mean, you're earning good merit for being a good steward of the network, right? By running a full node. But if you want to earn sys, you know, the way that you do that, as far as, you know, the main core protocol goes, is you run an incentivized full node, which is a master node that's collateralized, or you are running a full node as a miner, and, you know, competing against all those Bitcoin miners that are crunching for Syscoin.
Let's get into the weeds on that topic.
Yeah, because I want to know more about it because I just finished setting up a node for another cryptocurrency, and it was a big pain in my butt. I spent an hour and a half doing it, so that's why I'm talking about mining right now. Sorry to interrupt you, Hotep, but I had to because I had to explain why I'm asking these silly questions.
I mean, I fully expect that from a woman with tattoos. Absolutely deplorable. As far as running a master node, what kind of incentives are we looking at there?
Yeah, so there's a seniority model with Syscoin masternodes that's unique in the space of masternode projects. So the longer that you keep your masternode collateralized and you keep supporting the network, basically as long as that collateral doesn't move, you gain what's called seniority. So I'm trying to remember the exact numbers off the top of my head. After a year, it's like a 33% increase. And then after 2.5 years, it's a 100% increase over the standard block reward. So every block that is produced, that is mined, I should say, you know, has emissions that are provided, you know, coin emissions, just like Bitcoin. You know, 75% of those go to masternodes, and the rest of it goes to the Bitcoin miners, you know, to keep them going. So, you know, if you go to a website, sysnode.info, SYSNODE.info, it's dedicated to showing you statistics on the profitability of Syscoin masternodes, a lot of other attributes about the network as well. So that can be quite helpful for you.
If y'all want simple APR, it's like 5 to 10%, what you get every year from that investment. But it's like first year it's like 5, and then it goes up, like Bradley says, like 1.5 times, and then after 2.5 years of having the Masternode, you pretty much get your rewards doubled. So it's pretty cool.
Question: what's the minimum amount do you need per Masternode?
100K.
100,000.
Oh, see, Hotep got you on the SYS education there, Wendy. Come on.
Hotep Jesus pays attention, especially when we start talking about money. Okay, this is rather interesting. My next question is, what are we looking at as far as penalties are concerned? You know, let's say my machine goes down, power goes out, or something like that.
You just
How does that affect?
That's it. And I don't think you get part of the reward. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jagger, Brad.
Yeah. Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, it's basically our theme is we do not like negative reinforcements. Just like, when you're raising your kids, you don't want to raise them with negative reinforcements, but try to think about positive reinforcements. So in the security world, it's the same thing, because as soon as you introduce negative enforcements, like you have to with proof of stake, then you run into situations where you can game systems, where you can make people believe that someone's doing something wrong, so they can get have a negative outcome. So, for example, like if you could take a node down and it's going to cost you, it's going to slash you, or it's going to burn some funds out of your wallet. You will be incentivized to keep it up, but what happens if they find a way to take you down, or if half the internet goes down for whatever reason? So in our situation, we just we can continue on. Our masternodes are not required for the network to operate. They're essentially increasing the decentralization, but they don't stop the network from going or becoming decentralized either way. And positive reinforcement. So if you are up, you will get paid. If you are down, then over a long period of time, it will just kick you out of that queue, and you just have to restart your masternode again when you are online again.
All right, I want to get in the weeds on this Masternode thing, but first, Wendy, since you're the rich millionaire in this room, I'm going to need about $10,565 from you to run this Masternode. I'll send you my Cash App, and you can just send that money over. I'll purchase Syscoin with that. Thank you very much, sis.
I have a question. Wait. I don't use a Cash App, man. I don't trust the Cash App. I don't use a Cash App.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. Can you just send me 10,000 in Bitcoin, or just send me 100,000 SYS? Let's just make it simple. Then I won't even have to convert it.
Okay, sure. Right away. Yeah, right away, sir. Let's go ahead and do this right away.
You're amazing. This is why I love you. See, this is why. See, everyone pays attention. This is why you need rich friends. Okay, Wendy is my intelligent, rich friend, and everybody needs one of those. Godson, go ahead, bro.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What's up, everyone? What's up, Wendy? What's up, Hotep, Jesus, Brad, Alex, Patrick, everyone? I have a question, right? So it's like funny to me to watch things get like rebranded over and over again in the space, and then like the new kids get to like reap the rewards of like rebranding stuff. Now that I'm just like thinking about it, masternodes sound like, I don't know, DAOs mixed with like DeFi. So do you think it'd be a good idea to like, I don't know, rebrand this SYS Masternode system as a kind of like DAO DeFi? Oh, you invest, I don't know, 100,000 SYS and you earn 5% APR, and then you also get to like vote on, system, protocol, like whatever, and that kind of stuff. It might be a good move.
That's a good idea.
I'm just
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff we're working on, and that was my thoughts as well, as trying to create some interest around masternodes. So one of the projects we worked on was called DAO-SYS, and at SYS Labs, our plan was some of the treasury was to move into masternodes, use the profits from the masternodes to feed into what we call DAO/SYS. And DAO/SYS essentially is just, it's a distributed online, like a TopTal or Fiverr type of marketplace where you can go and find people to build stuff and you can pay them. So you are your own bank. You can lend out funds and people can come online and buy them. But think about it as sort of a DAO, which was the original ethos of DAOs, right? To be able to build things autonomously, connect lenders and borrowers without risk, without intermediaries. But somewhere around the fact that they needed incentives and governance, they ended up creating tokens. So most of these DAOs that have tokens, they started to have those speculative cycles. And also, we found many people holding a large percentage of those tokens. They ended up having voting rights and effectively stole funds at will. So we wanted to remove the concept of speculative tokens out of the concept of the DAO, and out of that was born DAO/SYS. So imagine you're on Ethereum and you have Uniswap. So you have, like, typically you put in Ethereum with USDT, right? And you have your LP pair that's created. That's your receipt out of providing liquidity. In the same way, imagine you're providing that liquidity into DAO/SYS. You get your receipt, and then you can take that as collateral and lend that out to the market to get any type of token you want. So again, if you want wrapped Bitcoin, you have your wrapped Bitcoin. You lend that out to someone that wants to build. So that's your external market where you find someone that's going to build something. And now that person can build anything. You can build houses or real estate if you want, but likely you're going to want to have that feedback loop back into the ecosystem, right? So if you're going to lend out something and you're not going to charge interest in it, if it's Sharia compliant, you're not going to charge interest on it. So you want that person to either provide you tokens for a new project or provide that feedback loop back into the whatever the idea of the DAO is. So if it's DAO/SYS, back into the ecosystem of Syscoin. So now you have a way for you to interact between lenders and borrowers directly without requiring a bank, because the lender is the bank himself. And what keeps that secure? Well, the smart contracts are essentially storing your collateral. At any time, if you give some money to the borrower, he can take the money out. But the lender is also not on the hook completely either. If he waits around long enough time, he earns his money back. Just like how in Uniswap, when you're providing liquidity, you're earning interest. In the same way, your interest will cover your debt, whatever debt you're making. So if I walk in this thing and I say I'm lending out $1,000 and I'm earning 5% interest on that, after some amount of time, I'm going to get my money back. Not only that, but I'll also get some residual value from whoever borrowed that collateral to build, I don't know, some sort of DEX on the Syscoin ecosystem. So he built that. I got that value. I also got the $1,000 back from my interest that I'm earning over time. That's our take of creating a democracy-free, capitalistic type of environment where people can get together, they can borrow, they can lend, they can build. It's almost like an online marketplace for jobs where you can come and get any type of job if you have some sort of knowledge and can build. So that is DAO/SYS. How does that feed back into masternodes? Well, we were thinking to start anyone that has masternodes. They're typically sitting on profits. You're earning your 5 to 10% depending on your seniority. We were planning to feed that back into the DAO so that we can lend out to the community to build cool stuff for the ecosystem. It almost becomes like an ecosystem fund, a perpetual ecosystem fund that keeps growing. And our data scientist, Ian Moore, or Dr. Ian Moore, he actually wrote a 3-part post on this on Medium about Masternode yield farming. It kind of went unnoticed by the community, but we can post it again. But there was an interesting take on how to monetize your profits without sacrificing your collateral. So your 100,000 SYS is sitting there. You're earning 5-10%. You're putting that into the DAO. You're further earning 5% on top of that based on whatever the DeFi yields are. And then you're also collecting on whatever value is being created, likely increasing the value of your SYS if the value is realized. So that is sort of using masternodes as a tool to do a better to do a common good for yourself and for everyone in that ecosystem itself through DAO.
Yeah, good points. And that, like I said, that's where the marketing comes in, because you have to call these things like the buzzwords that kind of like attract people to check it out. And then when they get in, they understand the I don't know, the superiority of the model, right? Because you kind of have to like explain. Um, if you like, purchase a Masternode for 10 grand today at these depressed prices, right? Not only are you going to earn the whatever the 5% is, or but you also have this like built-in system where like with time the stake, not to allude to proof of stake, but the stake itself also gets more valuable, and then you also have these ways of reinvesting the capital without risking it.
Right.
So
No negative repercussions. So no slaps on the wrist if something bad happens, which is important. Everything should be positive. Everything is, if you get involved, you'll make money. You can sit back, make less money, but at no point in time will you be, will your money be moved without your authorization if you do something bad.
yeah, the marketing term is rugged. You won't be rugged. You won't be rugged when some random anonymous guy decides it's time to cash out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good thoughts to maybe package that up into some, and we called that, in SYS Labs, that was like a product we came up with called Masternode Yield Farming, which potentially, if we can figure out regulations, allowed other people to invest into that sort of like as a fund that we can grow to be able to build out the ecosystem, and it becomes like a snowball, right? Because as the yield gets bigger, there's more ability to fund more, which creates more value, which creates a feedback loop back into that fund.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of investments, I believe I asked, was it Brad, if I could invest in SYS Labs, and he called me poor. And Alex was there. Alex was there.
I'm a
Patrick was
witness.
there. Both of them said nothing. They just sat there and watched the man like berate me for 3 minutes straight about how I didn't have enough money or whatever. So it's all right. I might just have to go with this instead.
Yeah. I mean that isn't, so we're at the pre-seed stage there on that. We haven't really sent that around anyone, and it's been, but if anyone here is technically, if you're a registered investor, there are some minimums we're applying, but anyone who's an influencer who has connections that can help with what we're talking about is our vision. So the people in our family, like the influencers in our family, we'll be offering some sort of position there, just because you guys believed in us from day one. So there is going to be opportunity there. There are some minimums. That's just so that our paperwork isn't blown up as we get more people in. But definitely, it's not going to be like a huge. We're going to start small and grow it. But we got some really, really cool things we want to build out. Just like the 4 or 5 really big unicorn tech stacks that we want to start out, and then have separate teams. There'll probably be subsidiaries, separate teams isolated to those products. Like how when you think about what Solana and Avalanche, they try to directly monetize the blockchain. Instead, we want to monetize products on top, in ways that will create utility without trying to create adverse or deflationary tokenomics on Syscoin, which will affect the enterprise adoption or the ability for future people to use this system if the gas price becomes too costly. Everything we've done today was to try to figure out, without making the thing super inflationary, how can you find the most efficient model that will promote long-term growth of a decentralized network without either making it a deflationary only, up only system, and without making a making it too many tokens, too inflationary, not profitable or useful enough.
Yeah, yeah. My point was that you can. There's like other ways to I don't know, entrench yourself into Syscoin without being like I don't know, an accredited investor or whatever.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Are we dropping any alpha on any of these products, or is this like still top secret?
I mean, broadly, we can probably talk about some of them. I think we maybe mentioned them in Singapore at Token 2049. But again, like not many people have taken some notice. Um, But I guess, it's pretty common knowledge that a lot of our focus is on ZK Tech. We think ZK Tech is as big or bigger than the invention of blockchain itself. I think blockchain will be a tool to enable the proliferation of ZK. That's how big ZK is, right? Blockchain will be in the background, where ZK will be kind of like the thing that makes everything super secure, super safe to transmit information, and it's using blockchain as sort of like a marketplace to drive the demand and supply of the computation that needs to be done to make.
You said you said something the other day. You said that ZK is useless without blockchain. Can you elaborate on that a little? Because I do remember some people saying like, "Oh, you don't need blockchain to use zero knowledge technology."
Yeah, I think what I meant was when you're doing stuff in ZK, it's been around since the 70s. It just wasn't really terribly useful because there's a lot of computation that needs to go in to be able to prove to someone else you know something without disclosing anything, right? It just the math involved. As the statements get more complex, it's more and more hardware intensive to do such a thing, and so. Even once we get ASICs, right? Even ASICs require someone to purchase hardware. It might be chips in your phone as well, but there needs to be a way where you will, at the very least, for example, if you this program that you are proving, for example, what the temperature in Africa is through a temperature sensor and providing that into a smart contract. So like an Oracle, ZK Oracle service, right? Um, that costs some money to do the computation. So it costs money to crunch the CPU cycles to prove what the temperature sensor is saying from Africa. And once you get that temperature, you don't need to trust that it's correct. You can know it's correct as long as you can, the temperature sensor is not lying. So that it gets all the way back to the stack of, okay, maybe the temperature sensor needs to have a programmable module in ZK as well. But in the end, that computation comes at a cost. So how will people in trust-free ways um, fund that? Well, most likely smart contracts, right? You'll have exchanges where people can go in, put their order in, and say, I will compute this many CPU cycles for you for this cost. And and if you deposit your money here, I will give you the proof for what you need, and then you can consume that proof for whatever you need it to be. So that's why I think even if you're computing something like a temperature sensor and you're feeding that into maybe something else outside the blockchain, it still needs a blockchain for the transmission of the computation in exchange for money or resource, at the very least. And at the very best, you'll have ZK solving for privacy, ZK solving for scale directly with blockchain related activities. So those are common sense that they'll be intertwined with blockchain. But the other stuff, I call it ZK VM, where you write general purpose programs that will be provable. They still will need some intersection with blockchain. And our partners, ZK Cross, are working on that to actually make like an Amazon or AWS system basically that will allow for cloud computing to run in ZK. So you'll be able to write programs, your C++ or Golang or Rust programs, and hook them as modules saying, I want this function to be 100% provable. This is my wallet, and this is where you drain the funds from to make these things provable. But every time someone runs this, I want this function to be provable. It cannot change. That will open up a lot of doors for day-to-day activity with ZK. It still needs blockchain though, so to say.
Yeah, what ZK Cross is working on, what Jag mentioned, is absolutely huge. The implications of ZK, and just the CPU cycle marketplace, is incredible.
Yeah, I actually spoke about this when in the original Medium article we put up in 2020 or 2021 about our grand vision. At the end of that post, I said something about decentralized cost model, and what I meant by that was where we need to go is as an industry to scale ultimately is the cost of your transaction or cost of your usage of the technology that relates to blockchain has to be based on the cost that you put on this on the bare metal of the CPU. And Ethereum tried to do this, right? Like they ran they took a standard computer, they ran opcodes, all the opcodes to detect how much gas cost will each opcode be. It was just a guess, but there was no real way to know. A decentralized cost model will mean it's dynamic. So if my CPU is able to do X gigahertz for X cost today, I will charge that plus a small premium. If tomorrow, because of Moore's law, I'm able to get a better CPU and able to crunch those numbers for cheaper, I will charge less to the customer with the same premium. And so that is what I meant by decentralized cost model. If you can get to that, at that point, you'll have economies of scale because people can get involved and provide, my phone, my physical computer, maybe ASIC sitting in the corner of my room, providing revenue to myself while providing a greater good or utility for anyone that needs to do anything. Because with ZK, you could really run any program you want, and it could be a blockchain related transaction, or it could be my a doctor's certificate being proven that that I am who I am, and I need access. I need this information to be accessible by my doctor for some reason.
Hey, I just want to let the audience know we want everyone to be able to speak who wants to. For now, I'm just kind of letting Jag and the others here that currently have the mic just sort of have an open floor, but we'll bring in some more of you. It looks like we've reached the max limit on the number of speakers that we can have at one time. So any of you that are current speakers, if I knock you off to bring someone else up, just raise your hand if you want me to pass it to you again.
And if you're on the stage and you want to speak, hit the hand icon, hit the touch the heart, and it's the hand icon all the way to the right. Bull BNB, go ahead, jump in, bro. What's up?
Good. Good to see you all here. And I literally, again, when Jack speaks, I never really understand what he's talking about, but I know like he's talking about good stuff. And this gave me an idea that what I'll do from now on is that all the giveaways, which I usually do, it'll be like knowledge-based giveaways, like learn to earn kind of a thing. Now, till date, nobody could explain me what's zero knowledge proof and like basic layman terminology. All right. So I was like, people who will answer those kind of questions will get rewarded, because these days people are wrecked. Everybody's like minus 90% down. People are getting into depression and stuff, and that people like literally hardly put any effort in like buying a Masternode or anything. And I was thinking about, what, the next month I'll probably like run a giveaway of, giving $10,000 worth of Syscoin, like 100,000 Syscoin I'll probably give. And I will give it to the person who will actually explain me how it works, who will actually show up his whole setup and stuff. And then we give it to that kind of person because we always have to trigger the greed in people. All right. Unless or until that greed is there, people will never put an effort to learn anything or, go through all this trouble to get into a Masternode kind of a thing. And then there are people who actually are capable. They don't have those kind of funds. So, yeah, just wanted to tell like my 2 cents for the betterment of Syscoin. This is what I believe I can do. And yeah, that's what I want to say.
Bro, that's an amazing idea. A very,
I
very
actually
good
did.
idea.
I actually did that back in 2016 or around there when we first wrote the white paper. I wanted people to get viral. Like that's a really good idea. I did it with a larger amount, but it was fun to see. There's actually a lot of young kids that studied the paper like it was an exam test, and they came in prepared. And I asked pretty hard questions, and they actually answered within like a few seconds. It was amazing. And some community members and even foundation members came from something like that, because we grabbed the people that we thought were really good and studied us. So it's a cool concept, and it definitely works.
Yeah, because there is walk to earn, there is watch to earn. Why not learn to earn, And yeah, this is what I believe Syscoin should be focusing on. And Jack, one suggestion: when you talk, can't you be like excited? Like, guys, you know what? I just done this. It's miraculous. Be excited, bro. When you talk, seriously, if you'll be my teacher in my class, no offense, I'll be sleeping or I'll be rugging your class. I'll be like, you know what, sir? I need to go take a piss, and I'll never return. I'm telling you.
You got to understand, like with people who have a big brain like Jag, there's not enough space in his skull for excitement because it's all being used to compute and code. So you can't do both at the same time.
Jag
Yeah.
can do it. He
I
can
lack
100% do it.
I lack in that
Jag's
ability.
like Dr. Manhattan. He's just,
Well,
he's not apathetic, but he doesn't have room for all that expression with everything going on.
This is the thing. People that are super tech smart, they move differently. Just like musicians move a certain way, just like athletes move a certain way. I can't it's hard for me to put into words, but I understand what Jag says. I don't understand all of it because a lot of it is tech heavy. But that's just his personality type. Guys that are really, really tech smart, and even girls that are really tech smart, that's just how they move. And it's hard to understand, but if you pull different pieces that might not make sense and then you just do a little bit more due diligence on them, then it'll start to make sense.
I learned the hard way though. Like when I was CTO of BCF, we had to talk to a lot of execs, and we had to explain to them again and again and again. It became repetitive to a point where we're like, if they don't understand these basic concepts, or they're not able to understand that we're cutting out middlemen and that their business model is going to be wiped out in the near future, we can't sit there and explain these concepts. So I kind of got jaded over a large number of years. I was really like that from the beginning, where I was usually pretty excited about a concept, and then you have to repeat it again and again. I became kind of jaded. So I think that it's probably a reflection of just being in the space too long, and you have to have an even keel, because sometimes you come up with really cool ideas, and then a few years it's already been surpassed by something else. So you don't want to be like, this is the solution to the end of the world's problems or whatever, solving hunger, and then all of a sudden you have something better come out the next year, because that's the curve we're on, right? In the tech world, we're exponentially growing, and it's hard to see an end game for a lot of this tech.
Yeah, but you have to market as well. So there's a fine balance, right?
I gotta tell this story. Like when we were in Miami, it was me, Nathan, and Jag. We had dinner, and then we go up to Jag's room, and then we're like talking tech, and like I remember I just started like very into it, and then like towards the end, like I'm just like dozing off completely. It's like what 11, 12 at night, and all I remember is Jag talking about something called the nonce. It's some sort of technical coding term that I still don't understand what it means, but that's the only thing that stuck in my head that evening.
The other thing is you have to measure one's desire. The way that the brain works is the higher the desire to intake the information, the easier it is to keep the brain active and awake. So, you always have to factor that in. Let's jump to Farhad. Farhad, talk to us, man. What's up?
Hello guys. Actually, I'm new to not new to crypto trading, but sort of I don't know very technical. I don't know the technical things about that blockchain and coins. So I have few questions from you guys. So please don't mind my questions. One thing is that I just asked Alex a while ago that the thing is I'm talking as point of an investor, that earlier Syscoin had a maximum supply. Now recently, there is no maximum supply now. So don't you guys think that having no maximum supply mean that you can issue as many coins as you want? So as we know that the price is decided by the demand and supply. So if there is demand, The more demand, then obviously the price will be higher. But the thing is, if there is no maximum supply, then there would a point would come that price is going high, and when the coin the more coins will be issued, then eventually the price will fall. That's my point that I wanted to ask you people.
Yeah,
Right.
So
it's a good question. And we can answer that. So, for a long time, Syscoin did have a max supply. Our max cap was 888 million. Um, through a lot of iteration, and even some philosophical debate and things within Foundation and the community, we saw a different path. We saw the path of making Syscoin essentially, I guess kind of the ultimate utility focused blockchain, right? To take the security that's available in Bitcoin, and to use that to support a utility driven ecosystem, similar to ETH, but with some particular advantages, right? And so as part of that, the SYS native coin of our blockchain really needed to be more focused on utility. And what that means is that there needs to be enough coins at any given time. So, the supply needs to be sufficient, so that anyone in the world or any number of people in the world can use the ecosystem. Whereas if we have a hard capped max supply like Bitcoin, the problem becomes that the platform becomes more difficult to use. It becomes less of a worthy utility, and we want the utility of Syscoin to be accessible to everyone in the world, right? Ultimately, we want ultimate financial inclusivity. And so we patterned SYS, our native coin, the coinomics, as I put it, as opposed to tokenomics. We patterned our coinomics after Ethereum. So it's almost identical as far as the minting and the burning as what you see on Ethereum with EIP 1559. So anyone who thinks that Ethereum is a success in any capacity, or that Ethereum is designed well, should say the same thing about Syscoin and our supply characteristics.
So Farhad, in general, think of Syscoin as the same coinomics, like Brad was saying, that works like Ethereum, right? So I actually sent you an article that discusses a little bit more about that. So there's a little bit of inflation, which stimulates growth within the ecosystem. But the cool thing is also, there will be Syscoin that is burned as well for fees. So I hope that answers your question, and always happy to chat more if you have more questions.
It's
okay, there's one
modded.
more thing. There's one more thing. Sorry. Uh, are you guys like have any plan or something, any target the about the price that okay, this is our target price that we want SIS to be on?
Yeah, we try not to talk too much about price because I know we all want to make money, but it's really not relevant right now in the case when we're just kind of focused on building and bringing utility and usage to the Syscoin economy, right? The ecosystem, I should say. So
Alex, I want to hop in really quick and talk about price. So I understand, like everybody, like any space that I go in, anytime it's related to a project or NFT, people get super excited about prices, which I understand. But you do have to realize we are in a bear market, and any project you're looking at, it doesn't matter what it is, even if it's Bitcoin, can release the most bullish announcement ever, the most bullish news, and price is not going to really move a whole lot. And the reason why is because we're in a bear market. There's not a lot of interest. Like you can even go on Lunar Crush and you can see what people are looking at. People are just not looking into crypto as much as they were during the bull market. So just because number doesn't go up when a project releases a great announcement or does something really good doesn't mean it's a bad project. And again, price doesn't always equate to utility. And I'm going to repeat that again, is price doesn't always equate to utility. So I think that if before you decide to put money into something or to invest or, you know, whatever it is, join the communities, ask questions, do your due diligence, make it make sense, and then find areas where you're interested in investing if that's what you do decide to do that makes sense for you in your trading or investing journal. Because if you're just investing in something because if you're just invested or interested in something because you want to make money, you might end up actually losing money because your expectations are going to exceed the reality of what's happening or that particular time frame. And right now I think that we still have another like year and a half of bear market. So that's just a little bit of context with my thoughts behind that is all.
Yeah. Alex and Wendy are 100% correct. And the only thing I'll add to that, you know, before we move along is foundation members, you know, the members of the nonprofit Syscoin Foundation, we don't talk about the price, you know, or put price predictions up or anything like that. That really does not behoove us as members of the foundation. And that could actually, you know, cause some issues for us. So that's why you won't really see the Syscoin founders talk about that. The community at large, the Syscoin community is more than welcome to discuss price.
Yeah, let me say that, you know, the foundation may not be interested in talking about price, but I will. It's a very simple like arithmetic, you know, like when we are in a bull market, you know, the rising tide will lift all boats, right? So now you have to make like the basic decision of like, okay, so what am I going to invest in that's going to be here when, you know, the bull market comes around. So now you have two choices. You can either wait for the new thing everyone's going to be interested about, you know, excited about, or you can invest in something that's been around long enough, like, and seen, what is it, three bear markets now, and, you know, bet on that, and, you know, have faith that you're not gonna get rugged by some random team that, you know, showed up, you know, in the last bull market, you know, some team funded by a VC that just got absolutely obliterated in the whole FTX scandal. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I mean, the ramifications of what we're doing here is going to span every market and every sector. It's going to disrupt all of the people that involved with anything related to holding accounts for another person or another commercial entity, and it's going to also change the way we view what money really is, because you know, money is just a form of barter to be able to either increase your how much purchasing power you have or how much wealth you have in relation to someone else. It's all relational. So maybe with blockchain, you know, once we do get the concept of gas is not money. So Bitcoin, Ethereum is not really money because you won't be using it for barter. It's even with $4 trillion of volume and the thing not moving over 10% a day, I don't think it classifies as money, but money is something that will be built on top. So I view that as almost like an algorithmic stablecoin or something. I know Vitalik is really excited about that right now as well, is unlocking the secret to finding an algo stablecoin, which would be essentially, it's not USD based, but it would be something where you can create stability when you barter with someone else. And potentially other forms of money, right? Like if I hold some tokens that represent a company and I go into a coffee shop and the coffee shop only takes some other token, you can use the blockchain to automatically convert for you. And the fact that the conversion is happening is what the creation or distribution of money really is. But in terms of what the gas is, you know, the gas is something new. It hasn't existed before. It needs economic incentives, but it doesn't necessarily making money. So in our view, the ramifications are so large that you have to look at it as like the Fed would look at the economy, you know, 2% growth curve or whatever they're targeting when they print. And prior to that, we had the gold standard, which ran out of growth. You know, you have a limited amount of gold and the race to acquire gold, which, you know, when they did need to print, they had to move off of that standard. And if we didn't move off of that standard, we wouldn't have the internet. We wouldn't have all of this crazy tech explosion we've had, and the Apple device or Android devices in your hands. You wouldn't have any of this. But where the Fed went wrong, you know, it's a great tool, but where the Fed went wrong is the fact that the one person could decide what the 2% is, just based on where the wind is blowing on whichever given day. And there's no consensus around that. That's where it went wrong, and that's what we're hoping to fix. So imagine us as sort of like not like it's a decentralized Fed, where we're feeding in similar coinomics as what the Fed would have been doing with the 2% or 1% growth curve, but in a decentralized way, which cannot be changed. It's still on a schedule.
Not to cut you off or anything, but I've been in this space for a while now, and I hate that every year we still argue about Keynesian economics versus Austrian economics and max supply versus unlimited supply. And it's like, I'm not like a genius or anything, but I think I figured out a while ago that the rules for a commodity are different for the rules for a currency. And you want to have, currency sort of expand and contract with the volume of uh, transaction in the ecosystem or the economy or whatever, right? But you want to have, a commodity be, stable. So a commodity would be like Bitcoin, right? It's where you store your money. You don't want it diluted. So of course you want a max supply, and you want it to be like, you want the rules to be like, whatever, stable. But then you have a But then you have a currency, which is what you use on a platform or an ecosystem. So your decentralized, whatever, Ethereum and Solana and what have you, right? So you don't want to have the commodity rules on a currency, because then people are going to hoard the currency, and it's going to limit the amount of sort of transaction volume in the ecosystem, and it will hinder the growth of the economy. So I hate, it's like every time I scroll up on Twitter, some Maxi and some .eth are both arguing something that's like very basic to understand if you know went through economics 101 or something, so
100%.
but that's just me anyway. Some guy jumped in and said, I want to ask a question.
Fernando, you want to jump in right there? What's your question?
Yeah, I am sorry. I don't know what happened, but they said here that I can't speak, so I started speaking. Sorry. No, my question is, what happened in the hypothetical case of Bitcoin disappear? How is gonna be Syscoin at that moment? So how is the next step after that happens?
Hey, if Bitcoin disappears, man, we just gonna assume that the planet has been eradicated and we've moved to Mars at that point. Like,
Okay.
anybody
Okay.
want
That is a question, I always think about that, and I don't know, maybe there's a possibility, I think. I don't know.
Well, I know that there's now you can run nodes off satellite. The way I would, if I'm going to attack Bitcoin, I would attack it from the ISP level, the packet level, where you cannot distribute the packets or blocks or transactions across the world, because all the ISPs will have to censor together. And so then the trick would be, okay, well, to combat that, you'd have direct P2P block transactions and propagation, which is something that Blockstream has worked on, along with satellite nodes as well. The satellite nodes, I mean, they're owned by somebody like NASA or something like that, and they can always, the government can force them to shut those down as well. But at some point, it becomes powerful enough that you could start running your own infrastructure. If you own enough Bitcoin, you have enough money, you launch your own satellites, and no one can really stop those. So as long as two nodes are online, and you have someone mining it, then the thing cannot technically die. It could be censored. People could try to make it hard for everyday people, but as long as there's a way for you to be able to get the blocks or transactions, meaning you have one other peer that's a full node, then you will be able to be censorship free. And Ethereum case, it's a little bit different, because now they've moved into proof of stake, and it's largely a similar problem where the ISPs can ban, but also a cloud provider problem now as well, because if the cloud providers all shut down, you'll be having to run these nodes kind of by yourself and on metal, and the amount of space it takes in the archiving node is so huge that there's only a few of them running. So it's a little bit of a different problem, but in similar concept, as long as you have, in Ethereum's case, that's a little bit different because they are starting to figure out how to shard the data and spread it across nodes. So if you don't have enough nodes running, the system is insecure. Whereas in Bitcoin, it's just one node and it's secure. What we call that is Nakamoto coefficient. Is how many, you're asking the question, how many services or things do we need to knock down for the system, for the protocol to not exist anymore? And in Bitcoin, every time you run a full node, it's increasing that number by 1. So if there's 7,000 nodes, technically you have to knock out 7,000 nodes or avoid from them from talking to each other for the system to be deemed not usable. In Ethereum's case now, it's a lot less because of the cloud providers. So it'll be the centralized cloud pools would be the ones you'd knock down to make the thing unusable, if that makes sense. So when we're asking this question, technically you can Google the Nakamoto coefficient. There's Satoshi Nakamoto and then coefficient. Just Google that and it will tell you what the metrics you'd look for in the security of these networks. So in Bitcoin, if you could technically go after all those full nodes, you could censor and stop the network. Otherwise, there will be always a way for people to transact on it.
Yeah. And
Thanks a
speaking of
lot.
Nakamoto coefficient, I just want to add, since we're on that topic, currently Syscoin benefits from, a good percentage of that coefficient that Bitcoin has in the form of the Bitcoin miners that are supporting Syscoin's network. As I've mentioned, between 20 and 30% of the miners supplying, or I should say of the hash rate supported by miners is also supporting Syscoin. In addition to that, we have typically over 2,500 lately, the past few months, 2,500 independently operated masternodes that are all full nodes that have a high reliability factor. They're incentivized to run reliably. And then beyond that, we have an untold number of just standard non-incentivized full nodes. So the Nakamoto coefficient for Syscoin is quite high.
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it meant for us to really like have to a united currency throughout the whole world? Are we supposed to be combining our funds like this? Because that means that all the money that's coming in and out is going on 24 hours a day. So when we sleep here in America, right, people across the world is up putting money in or taking it out. So how is this even going to work?
Yeah, to respond to that, I don't think it's a matter of should. It's just like it's going to be inevitable. As the world gets more globalized, we're going to end up using the same stuff for currency and commodity. The question now becomes like, are we going to be part of a system that's designed for us, or are we going to be part of a system that's designed to, I don't know, entrench some elite somewhere? So it's not really a matter of if we should, or it's just like a matter of like it's going to happen regardless. So
So
the best we can do is to get ahead of it.
okay, I get that.
Oh.
I had money in Ethereum and all that stuff, all that good stuff. But at the same time, though, it's like, why though? Why is this happening now, though?
Alex, you want to hop in right there?
It's happening because of the internet, right? The internet completely, like, for the first time in history, borders and boundaries make absolutely no sense. Anybody, anywhere can interact with everybody everywhere. So now we're kind of in this world where a global currency is going to be inevitable because people want to transact globally. I don't want to have to go through 7 intermediaries to get to China when I'm getting stuff from China. I want to be able to do it directly.
So okay, So
So
we worried about a faster transaction, right? All right, I get that too. We want to be able to communicate with people across the world and all that stuff. But is it really meant for us to fucking do this though? George,
it's not.
wait. Let me talk real quick. George Bush, he got a whole speech about, NWO, New World Order. They're gonna, they've been planning this for years. We don't even know who really created Bitcoin. Why?
It doesn't matter
And
who
it's the same thing with the
created
stock
Bitcoin.
market too. You see what they doing with the stock market? It's the same thing.
Hey, the
See,
way I put it is, whoever created Bitcoin, whether it was some guy whose legit name was Satoshi Nakamoto, or
It was a
whether it was some agency, or just some group of cryptographers. To me, it doesn't really matter, because Bitcoin is what it is. The cat's out of the bag with Bitcoin, and I think that's the reason why we see so much of what we see with centralized institutions and old world power structures sort of in a race, and kind of losing their composure, I believe. And me personally, I think that does have something to do with a viable model for decentralized value.
right.
Now, as to whether things, we'll see where things go in the future. Things could go a lot of different directions, and part of that largely just depends on how our use of decentralization evolves across time. We could have a one world currency, or we could have more of an internet of communicating value in a more general way, where maybe people, instead of exchanging one currency, maybe there's a network of value, and people can bring whatever they value to the table and exchange it with someone else who values it in a very easy way. That way, maybe there are, effectively endless currencies, but they're all able to be interchanged very easily. So there's that route too, and there'll probably be kind of a mix.
Yeah. So like,
Yep.
and I'm not like a bitter, I hate crypto type shit. No, I'm not that person. I mean, I sold at the right time. So I mean, I sold at the top of the year before everything just crumbled. But at the same time, I know it's going to come back. But you got to feel like this is all like a plan. They trying to dwindle us out.
Yeah, bro, one way or another, there's a lot of conspiratorial aspects to cryptocurrency, blockchain, where it came from, how is the future of it going to be. But at the same time, man, that's a whole nother deep, deep, deep discussion that we can get into. The thing is, like Brad was saying, like, it's here to stay. Now, is it going to end up being, that NWO world, one world currency, or is it going to be, an effective way to transmit value across the
Going to
world
be
in
that.
a more
It's going to
centralized
be that.
way? I
It's
don't know.
going to be that. But at the same time, look, I'm not saying y'all got that feeling, but it might be controlled already. That's what I'm saying, yo.
I think in order for them to control it, like the way, like I went into this, the money versus the currency aspect. I think unless they can control the energy market, that's really the most the bottom of Extra's pyramid is really energy. You think about black oil and gold and oil and all that stuff, but it's really energy is at the bottom, because you cannot create that out of the lab unless they can corner the energy market and tell us where energy could or couldn't be used. They wouldn't really have control, because what Bitcoin represents is a formal capture of a digital asset that represents energy,
Rap.
right? It's an IOU. It's wrapped energy is really what it is. So even what Syscoin is the energy required for you to prove to someone else that I've done enough energy, therefore you should transact. So where does money come into that? Where I was saying is you'd have algorithmic stable coins, or algorithmic stability built on top is what your money could be. And that is smart contract driven. So there is no backdoor in any of that, where someone could say, just print me out $1 billion of this and no one will find out. That's all on the ledger. And what I meant by that was you have your energy, you have your Ethereum or Bitcoin or Syscoin in this case, and you would input that into an algorithmic system that outputs a stable token that represents X amount of energy that's gone in.
All right.
And that's next year, you're going to see more and more of that.
Now, I don't have the answer right in front of me, but how long did it take the stock market to become a stable source of income? Do anybody know? Because the stock market,
A stable source of income for who?
like
For the
you know how
oligarchs.
Bitcoin, Ethereum fluctuates up, down, up, down.
Well. Okay, let's dive into that. First thing we gotta understand is that the concept of stock trading began on a side street with paper, right? What you see today is just a more advanced digital version of that concept. Is stable is also subjective, right? And we have to find out what's the median price of whatever index or whatever security you're trying to track. So it's actually not a fair question to say when did the stock market become stable, because it's never stable.
Right. Stable than crypto right now, because crypto's still at the beginning. So,
bro, nah, I wouldn't venture and say that
what's going on
either.
with the stock market?
I mean,
it's like,
well, I follow the stock market. Amazon is at a 52-week low. Tesla's at a 52-week low. But then you have other securities that are doing very well, like Visa, Amex, JP Morgan Chase. They have a index fund that's doing fairly well as well. But again, as a whole, the stock market is down.
yeah.
We're having a recession across the board. And a lot of that stuff has little to do with the stock market, has little to do with crypto, has everything to do with the fact that the world is recovering from a pandemic.
Yeah, and we have no discipline.
See, like the thing is, in this world, everyone has a destiny, right? And if you don't make yours one, if you don't make one for yourself, someone else will make one for you. And the one they make for you is not going to benefit you, right? Crypto is the first thing. I am Nigerian. I was born and raised in Nigeria. I discovered this industry in 2015 because it was the only thing I could invest in outside of the country. When I was there, right? It was the only thing I couldn't invest in the stock market because there were way too many rules. You have to and that's like the problem with crypto these days, is that we're trending towards that same system where you have to provide several different kinds of documentation, and you have to like constantly produce your own you have to like constantly like destroy your own privacy in order to satisfy the rules that someone else has made for you. So the question isn't if we're going to have a one world currency. That's inevitable. It's going to happen. The question is, what kind of one world currency are we going to have? Is this something we made for ourselves? Or is it going to be this like system in like the stock market where insiders invest in pre-seed and Series A and Series B and Series C? Then before it gets to your turn, it's a bloated, overvalued tech stock that has no earnings, and then they dump on you on IPO. Most of the IPO tech stocks are down 80, 90%. Shopify, Tesla is down 70%.
All that.
Yeah, so it's like, what do you want? Do you want something you make for yourself that benefits you, or do you want to be part of a system that someone else makes that benefits them? And if we don't make something for ourselves, they're gonna make one for us.
All right, so
that's why they hate. That's why.
We don't want to derail this conversation too long. So I'll give you one more response, Just West, and we're going to go on to the next speaker.
All right, yeah, okay. So you said something back then, like 2 minutes ago, about there's a lot of rules in your stock market. What rules are you talking about?
I'm not even talking about the stock market in the country. I'm talking about in general. I wanted to trade forex. I wanted to buy dollars. Actually, I just wanted to buy. I just wanted to invest my money in my local currency into the US dollar, and it was impossible. I had to get a special dispensation from the Federal Reserve of the country to allow me to invest my money in the dollar, and that was insane. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is my own money.
Right.
So that's why I went with crypto, with Bitcoin back then, right? So it's like you either make something where the rules benefit you and most people, or you sit around doing nothing and they will make one for you that doesn't benefit you. If we don't make a global currency by ourselves through this industry, they will force a CBDC on us, right? And it will suck. You will wake up one morning, they will find a tweet from 2010 about something they don't like, and all your money is gone, right? And you're gonna be shocked, right? You're gonna vote for the wrong party. When they get into power, they will change your interest rate from 2% to 10%, and that's it, right? So you have to understand, like, it's inevitable. The world is getting smaller, and it's gonna keep getting smaller until it's one village. So now you have a choice. Are you gonna preempt it and make something good for that village, or are you gonna sit around and wait for someone to foist a terrible, global currency on you, right? That's
Yeah, hey guys, if we pass you the mic, don't be shy. I was hoping Miss Teen Crypto would have asked a question, but she didn't manage to squeeze in one. So 35, you have the mic. You're welcome to speak.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
A bad network where I am. So good evening to the entire Syscoin. I would like to say a few things. Quest. So without looking at the confidence that the crypto reposing in Syscoin technology, which is honestly well deserved, I also want to note that we pay. Speaking from Nigeria, I am in Nigeria. I just want to chip in something so that we can. Hello, am I clear?
Brother,
am I on?
Your network is rugging. I'll be honest with you. Your network is rugging. You're gonna have to go somewhere better.
Yeah, we can't really understand what you're saying except in small bits.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Is it better now?
No problem.
Maybe just tweet your question and then we'll answer it. I'll keep an eye for it.
Kitsugi, did you want to ask a question? I know you've been up here before, had your hand up previously. I don't think we heard from you. Oh, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we hear from Kitsugi?
Hey, sorry. I'm a member of the Syscoin team. I was just going to answer some of the questions a while back, and for Just West, I sent you a paper that I wrote up about what you're talking about. It's called Crypto's Faustian Bargain, and basically talks to the metaphysical consequences of our decisions and how that reverberates through crypto. And I think you would enjoy reading it, so I just encourage you to check it out.
Bro, you tired? What's going on?
Sorry, I'm mountain biking.
He's mountain biking.
He's just on the treadmill.
There with you.
He's doing some sort of like cardio. He's probably doing some sort of like horizontal cardio or something.
No, I'm mountain biking. The devil doesn't take a day off, so I don't either.
Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah, but
that's dedication right there.
I went to the gym before this, so I had time to speak. So maybe you should plan better.
That's better timing, yeah. But
no, you have the
those are my
mic.
2 cents. Sorry. But yeah, somebody else can ask a question. That's all I wanted to say.
Afzal, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
You show everything?
We can hear you.
I show care.
Bro, what?
Hot no game ball, yeah.
Oh, nah, you got the wrong room, bro.
Yeah, no, this guy is trolling. Kick him out right now.
You got the wrong room. He's speaking Bengali or something. He got the wrong language. This is a English only speaking room. Shout out to my foreign speakers though. No diss, no diss. You know, I'm over here trying to learn the second language myself. Jag speaks 3 languages. He speaks fucking blockchain and crypto. You know, half the time we speaks, we don't know what the hell he's talking about.
I speak Punjabi as well. If anyone wants to speak Punjabi, I'm down.
Oh, so he's quadlingual.
Shout out all the Naija people in the room as well. How are they?
What do you learn in Hotep?
Espanol and Russian.
Muy bien.
Oh yeah. It's coming along. I switched apps. I was on Duolingo. Now I moved to Babbel. I'm trying Babbel out.
Duolingo is hard for Spanish. That's what I use for my daughter.
You said Duolingo is hard?
No, I said it goes hard. Like it's good.
Yeah, I think it's I was reading some reviews that said it's kind of kiddie, so I wanted something a little bit mature. So I'm working through the Babbel one now. I'm way past like beginner Spanish. So yeah, we got a new guy up here, Crypto Omo. What's up, man? Talk to us.
Yeah, I'm good. GM. Is it GM now? It's in the afternoon. It's in almost the morning here. I'm in the UK, and I've just been like listening to you guys and been learning a lot, and been up stage and everything, listening to what people have been saying. So it's good conversation, and it's good to see my Nigeria Godson there as well. Rapping so good. So shout out to Godson.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I heard you
nice
on the other.
as well.
Is it this morning with Joe? Or is this morning we were on the space with Joe this morning, isn't it? Was it yesterday?
It must have been yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. Yeah. We're having a conversation. So it's good. The adoption is going fast. I'm good because my own concept is I'm an engineer and I live in UK, and I've been onboarding lots of construction workers in UK. And to God be the glory, I've done almost like 70 people now that I've brought into the blockchain industry. So I'm more into the educational aspect of the blockchain and teaching people about crypto, how to the first step coming into cryptos, because the idea came in when I was when we have the financial crisis and there's a shortage of work in the UK and people were looking what to do. And every Friday we get paid, and boys go do drugs, some go do gamblies and other stuff. So I was more into Coinbase, and I just said to myself, okay, if I'm doing these and these guys are just struggling, and every morning they have to come to me to borrow their money for the Friday coming, why can't they just teach these people how to buy or just open trade Shiba or any other coins or anything they want to do? And that started the concept with me, and I start training people how to open Coinbase, how to do their KYC, how to buy crypto with their cards. And that time we are using of Monzo. So maybe you had the Monzo online banking because the UK bank did not accept you doing crypto directly with your bank card. So we have to teach them how to put money into Monzo, go online and buy. And that time Shiba was a little bit good. So when Shiba was coming up, most of them make profits, and some of them start teaching other people. And from then I went into Binance and I started teaching people, but not the trading aspect. But by and large, I had a little downfall when my friends, one of my
So now you're gonna teach them about Syscoin, right?
so one of my friends
Let's go.
so one of my friends introduced me to robot trading, which is a Royal Q, and I've been doing a little bit of trading, a little bit in Nigeria. So I see that like an opportunity for me because of my job, and I feel like okay, the robot can do a little bit more help. So I always said the robot for these guys, but on the long run, I realized that it was just like a setback because it was the old guys correct. So because the robot keep going into liquidation, and we have to keep using our money to get the robots keep working, and it got to a stage when I come to work is either someone is trying to fight me, or someone is trying to ask me where is their money, somebody is asking me questions. So I just have to let the robot go, and That was the beauty of me learning another strategy, which by till today is working for me. And that is understanding when to stop. If you don't understand when to stop, you will keep losing more money, because everything you do in life, there must be a stop button. And the stop button is there for you to have a reset and think twice again to say to yourself, am I being scammed? Is this real? The day you ask yourself that question, you have to press the stop button and say, okay, let me have a recap. I have 20 NFTs. I'm not going, this is wreck, this is wreck, this is wreck. Should I keep buying from these same people? Should I invest in other things? Should I do, airdrop? Should I do meme coins? Should I even start something myself? But you won't understand this principle if you don't know how to press the stop button. And that was the only thing I learned in the whole thing from now until, and it's been helping me. So if I'm doing anything or trading, or everybody is giving me like I'm doing something and I've made a little profit, I tend to not be greedy anymore. I just press the stop button. It's enough. So if I make 2 grand, 3 grand, 60 grand, 120, 10 grand, and I see that I'm okay, whatever the market says, I just stop. I just decide that it should be able for me to move forward. And I'll feel if anybody is here as well, you're listening to me, like you've been thinking what is going on, just have that confidence to stop a minute and take a walk and just think, am I being scammed? Am I on this project for a long time? Is this something happening? I need to stop. And if you stop, then you can have a reset. And trust me, it all works for me. And then even in trading, sometimes I just stop. I take a walk. For a day, I just don't do, and I just stop, because it's better to, have a reset. And yes.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of us probably agree with that, especially when it comes to trading. You do need to know when to stop. And if you take profit, that's good. That's a good thing. Any amount of profit is good, even if you miss out on what, more profit that could have been, right? So learn to take your profits. But do you have anything specific in relation to Syscoin, or any questions for the hosts here?
I just want to ask is what looking forward now, due to the FTX and the Binance and the block, everything that is happening. There's a Solana going down. There's politicians coming into crypto. Do we have any predictions for the way for next year? Because for me, I just feel like where the money is next year is more of into the marketing aspect, into the crypto, because everybody wants to come with their products and services. So I'm just shifting my mind into, instead of focusing on investing more into crypto and buying tokens, I'm more seeing how I can be a marketer. So do you have any predictions for the way forward for next year? And thank you so much. That's all for me for now. Thanks for letting me speak. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, as far as predictions for next year, what I can say is things are looking pretty great for Syscoin's ecosystem, right? And this brings me to sort of the topic of this space, which is a year in review and a look ahead into 2023, including some alpha that we're about to drop here in just a second, right? I'll let Alex and Jag speak to that. But much of 2022 has been putting some very big infrastructure pieces in place for Syscoin that we had been working on for quite some time. And our design philosophy and the efforts that we made even prior to 2022 really led up to what we were able to accomplish in getting this, really substantial foundation in place, technologically and infrastructure wise, to support what is about to happen in 2023 as it relates to us actually providing a modular infrastructure that actively has functioning rollups on it, inheriting Bitcoin security, and all of the amazing use cases that will unfold from that, that are made possible with that, actually being deployed on the rollups. And that's when people will really see firsthand the method and the madness, right? So we recently published an article called Revealing the Method and the Madness in regard to Syscoin. And like one important part of the article is it says that, in times past, it wasn't necessarily easy for someone that was just kind of glancing on the surface of the Syscoin project to see its relevance or how it really stood out from other projects, just on the surface, its real value proposition. But now that's changing really quick because our full architecture is for the most part in place, and we're about to deploy sort of the end products on top of that with the roll-ups and everything, everything else is going to use that. As part of that, there is a very interesting and particularly relevant use case given the recent happenings with FTX, and that is an order book DEX. We have some things to share with you about that. So Alex and Jag, if you'd like to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll mention the kind of the basics, and we've kind of been teasing this for a while now, and this all went back to a conversation that Hotep and Jag were having about centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges after all this happened with FTX. So we're really happy to announce that we're going to be working with a project called DexChange, who's building on ZK. They're going to be on Syscoin ecosystem as well on the layer 2. So we're going to see them functioning as an order book exchange inside of the platform. So they'll work with the rollups. It'll work with proof of data availability. And it's going to be so much more than that because we're moving into a future with ZK. They're working on things like account abstraction. I believe we have a demo to show as well. Not in the account abstraction, but it actually functioning on Syscoin. So it's something that I'm super excited about. It's one step closer to getting that like centralized exchange feel on chain, right? So Jag, I'll let you kind of keep going with that.
Yeah, I mean, due to the FTX thing, I think it pushed a lot of buttons and related to DEXs and compliance. And think of we in order for us to get Binance onto the blockchain to make it custody free, there's it requires a massive uplift on scalability, right? Like how can we put all those users and transactions on the in a blockchain? It just won't scale. The fees will go up. But with our platform headed towards layer 2s and layer 3s and economies of scale, you're going to see more and more the next year people talking about fractal scaling. So now ZK Sync is talking about ZK Sync 3 and going to layer 3, and Starkware is headed to layer 3. Polygon's already been designing for layer 3 in mind, where they're going to have something called DApp chains or app chains, which ZK Binance, if we think about Binance as like a order book exchange on a blockchain, would be like a layer 3. And so this is our first take at creating almost like a Binance on the blockchain. So you control your own funds. You do not give it to centralized exchange, but yet you're still able to trade. And it's a little bit different than the typical AMM swap, which you might be used to with Uniswap. Uniswap, SushiSwap, and some of these swap protocols on blockchains like Trader Joe on Avalanche. It's a little bit different because the feel of it, you're putting your trades into the order book, and it could be transacting at a certain limit price, and they could be queued up ahead of time, so you can get like the instant update feel, like of how you get it on the centralized exchange. So moving that into a custody-free environment requires massive scale, and that's what we're going to be doing with our layer 2 release, is having the ability to offload a lot of the work from the main blockchain into the secondary layers and scale up. And the order book is going to be kind of a really big push for us to move, hopefully entice users to trade on the blockchain and the DEXs instead of in centralized exchanges where they're sitting on honeypots. And who knows if these exchanges are fractionally lending as well. So not only are they not secure, but they may be acting out against the best interest of the communities. So look for the DEXs next year. A lot of push towards on-chain trading due to FTX. There's been also a lot of push towards compliance. So we're also looking at custody-free ways to do on-chain compliance. So regular users can come in and be onboarded in sandboxes, and enterprises can onboard in the space because they have the right rules and processes checked on the blockchain. And it's not necessarily on layer 1 of Ethereum or anything like that, but this could be done on layer 2 as well. So next year, look for a trend towards compliance, not only from us, but massively from a lot of the big players. And then the next thing after that, I think Vitalik tweeted about this, but I'm pretty big on it as well, is to try to create an algo, try to unlock the secret of an algo stable that will work. Not particularly like Luna, but maybe learnings of Luna applied in a better way. But every major blockchain is now thinking about algo stables. It's the form of money. We spoke a lot about money today, but the form of money that can come alive, that can unlock barter using blockchain technology, because you don't want to have to send $1,000 worth of value and then all of a sudden it's not worth $1,000 at the other end when they get it and they receive it. So algo stables will unlock the usability of all of these apps. So there's going to be a big push next year and the year beyond that. And then, of course, you probably heard about zero knowledge proofs, but the ZK is growing and growing, and it's going to be for the next 50 plus years. You're going to hear about this tech. It's not going to go away. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. So ZK push, anything with ZK that is infrastructure based, I would take a hard look as an investor there, particularly scaling and privacy, scaling blockchain privacy, but even general Oracle systems. Chainlink is, I spoke to their engineers and they're looking at recreating it with ZK, so there's a lot of push towards general purpose ZK tech in the Web 2 world, and also scaling and privacy, and then account abstraction on the wallet side, which is big.
So just like Hotep's been told you, Syscoin's been told you about ZK.
Boom!
You like that? I want to take a second. Miss Teen Crypto, how are you? Welcome into our space. Thank you for blessing us with your presence. You were here earlier and then dropped off, so we wanted to bring you up on stage because I believe you had a question, comment earlier.
Hello, do you guys hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Hi. Yep. Thank you for having me. Sorry, I had to hop out a little bit ago. I had a call I had to jump on, and then I just came right back. I hope you guys are doing well. I wanted to ask you guys, because I know when I was doing some research about Syscoin, and I know Jag even mentioned it before, that Syscoin does help businesses. I just wanted to ask if you could elaborate on that, because I do talk to a lot of businesses, and I would love to onboard more people into crypto. I just want to know what kind of solution Syscoin can bring to the average store owner.
Well, I think when we talk about enterprise, we're talking about the big players that are going to set up the infrastructure, right? Because they're the ones that are going to be talking to the moms and pops. But even so, we shouldn't be precluding those people from jumping in, because of the notion of blockchain is anyone can get involved. It's just a little bit of a lift for moms and pops to get involved today, because there's no regulatory or compliance solution set up for them. Typically, they need some sort of accounting or reporting software that will guide them into, okay, what is our tax hit or representation, and how do we make sure that counterparty checks were done on every transaction. So in terms of the infrastructure for the big boys like Accenture, PwC, these guys to come in and set up shop so that they can offer it to the moms and pops as a service, you do need some sort of things on the blockchain that can solve related to compliance. So the first take there is, first of all, we got to scale this thing up. We got to scale the tech up, which we're in good hands there. We've gotten some cool concepts. We're working towards layer 2 and layer 3 in modular blockchain. Second of all, compliance, right? I was saying it's a major theme for next year, and doing it in a way that doesn't make your tokens require custody, like what Fireblocks or BitGo or some of these other guys are doing. And then you definitely want to be able to plug in DeFi to it. We spoke to the SEC, I think 2 years ago now, and we demoed them our traditional UTXO assets with Notary. It's kind of like Stellar with lease lines. They have the ability to transact in a way that counterparty checks are done, but they're still settled on the main blockchain. So I don't know, stable coins and security tokens and this sort of thing was possible. And the takeaway there was they said, can you do this with DeFi now? Can you make this sort of idea possible? Because they definitely don't want custody, because they were well aware of Quadriga at that moment. But we didn't want custody, and we wanted to do a similar thing. It could be opt-in, and so that's where we set out to solve that problem. And so we came up with the ability to do compliance as a layer 2. So it's opt-in, and enterprises can come in on and join on board. And if SEC wants, they can definitely say, look to that sort of solution as something, as an if you're an enterprise, to join that. We won't take away your license or slap you on the wrist for using something like that, because we know you are in you have the counterparty checks and money transmission laws all apply. So the moms and pops, the ones that don't know anything about crypto, that definitely can't trust it either because of all the hacks that have been happening. I think they would be more confident knowing that this blockchain is secured through Bitcoin, and it's not a fly by night. It's not going to shut down. It's not going to get hacked at the bottom of the layer, and at the base, at the usability layer of the application, it's also compliant. And so we know that the government's not going to come down hard, because the thing is checking for the requirements in order for us to do business. And that's going to be like a first step. In the long run, post 10, 15, 20 years, it's all going to be public and permissionless. We know that. But I think during this little war with the regulators, we're going to need to solve some of these problems. And the moms and pops that are critical to onboard, otherwise this space won't mature. So compliance is something we're working on that will help with those businesses.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that. Because I was also going to ask you, how do you think Syscoin could be a catalyst and mainstream adoption, being that I was looking into you guys, and yeah, you do have some good parts from Bitcoin and from ETH as well. So I just thought that was really interesting. How do you think Syscoin is going to play a part in adoption?
Yeah, so I think you'll start to see this round into form. We've been focused so heavily on research and dev that we haven't had time to really put the whole thing as like a big globe for people to see from the 1,000-foot perspective. But the next year it's going to start rounding into form, where you'll start to see our wallet, our decentralized web platform, like what Zion is doing with Jack of Twitter, and Elon wants to do an all-in-one app as well. We have our own thoughts on how to do this and ways that will promote best practices for security and general UX for average Joes. So we'll start to have the UX laid out in a way that's super secure and it's custody free. We'll start to have our first prototypes for compliance. We'll start to have our layer 2 and layer 3s, the structure of it being set up so we can scale. And you can't ask for any more from a regulation perspective, because if they ask us about regulation, we have those solutions.
Yeah, absolutely do. And it's an untapped market of, literally hundreds of trillions of dollars, in traditional finance. And a lot of these enterprises have been looking for a way, to take advantage of the benefits of decentralization, which is really like lower infrastructure costs, potentially much lower liability, because they, if they can do it in the right way, that helps them be able to provide their service without taking custody of customers' value, that's really optimal, right? And if they can do all of that while at the same time using a system that can accommodate evolving regulations that are subject to change under their feet at any time, which is, a challenge to solve that within the blockchain paradigm. But for this particular use case for regulatory compliance, for those who need it and want it to work on top of an open permissionless public blockchain, we've got the solution. And as far as I know from everything I've looked, I don't see any other project providing that. And that's an absolute massive use case that entails, mass adoption.
This is the perfect part to bring everything back full circle in regards to talking about the year in review and what's ahead in 2023. We launched the EVM side of things at the end of last year, I believe, the end of 2021, and we spent 2022 really kind of developing this plan of attack to really be able to grow to economies of scale. That's something that Jag always says. How are we actually going to be able to scale blockchain? We've got that infrastructure set up now. We've got, all the little puzzle pieces, and now it's all coming together. And Syscoin is essentially the full stack blockchain that with the modular design. We've got the rollups coming. So now it's going to be compliance. You heard of layer threes, you heard of we're all this building has been very futuristic, and now we're going to step into that future. So it's very exciting. I really see ourselves as what Ethereum was back when it started. Nobody thought in their right mind that Ethereum would be $1,000+ and it would have the gold standard of adoption for programmable money. But it is what it is. Now we're taking it a step further with the security of Bitcoin backing us and that gold standard programmability. So it's very exciting to see what we've got going on in 2023. I hope you guys did catch some of the alpha that we're dropping, but it's gonna be a fun ride for sure.
I think what you guys are doing is pretty cool. Just wanted to throw that out there. Sorry if I was cutting someone off. I think my space is a little shaky. I've been hearing Wendy and Hotep talk about Syscoin for a long time, and it's all positive stuff, especially coming from them. So thank you again for having me up. I think you guys are super cool. Love what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much, Miss Teen Crypto. You're amazing. We love you.
Hotep. You know what? I should stop giving you love.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Today is an exception. In the Syscoin led chat, there is love allowed. Please keep the love coming. But when I run the Twitter spaces, you understand there is no love. There is only hate in my Twitter spaces.
Love you so much. You're the best. You're the best.
I can't forget that one video from, what was it, 2017 or 2018 when you did the meetup. That's pretty much like what I know about you. So now I'm afraid of getting memed on the internet if I'm too nice. But I wanted to bring us back a couple minutes back, because I feel like Jag just said something massive and then nothing happened. I'm starting to agree with the guy earlier who said you need to get a enthusiasm translator, because if I heard you correctly, you said we have a DEX coming up with full custody until
settlement. Yeah, when he said that, I was like, wait, what?
I was like, wait. I've been looking it up. No one else is doing something like this, and he just said it so nonchalantly, like it's no big deal. Oh man, we're gonna have a self custody, and it's gonna be so. No one. I've been googling. Waves has something, but it's not here yet. Bitcoin.com claims they have something, but it's not full self custody. So it's like, maybe we need to get you a. I don't know if you saw that skit Key and Peele did with had the anger translator for Obama or something. We need to get you a enthusiasm translator.
So Jag can be the translator, or Hotep can be the translator.
I thought I was pretty enthusiastic.
No, he said it so nonchalant. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna have a DEX, and it's gonna be full custody."
He basically said we're gonna break the internet of crypto very calmly. But yeah, when I heard that, I was like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to dive into that. I want to, I communicate with the Syscoin team, so I wasn't gonna bring it up here. I was gonna ask them on the side, like, wait, what did he just say? But yeah, that's gonna be an amazing project. Maybe he should talk about that a little bit more now.
I mean, I think I was saying ZK Binance, right? Just think of Binance done as a ZK DEX, and that's our goal, is to bring that sort of usability on the chain without requiring the crazy gas fees. And it's still quants can technically still use it because it needs to be fast, it needs to be secure, it needs to be cheap. And I think the pieces of the puzzle are now in front of us in terms of the tech is there. We just need to assemble these pieces to put it together. And the DexChange guys are definitely it's early for them. They've just launched on ZK Sync. and they'll be launching on our layer 2. It's not a ZK project as of yet, even though they promote it as ZK. But I think I've been talking to them a little bit, and we do have some. I'll probably jump on advisory with them to help them out. We do have some really cool concepts being worked on to make things like even though it's self-custody, we don't want that MetaMask pop-up to keep happening every time you do a transaction. You want you to transact on this thing, potentially just one authorization, and then you can, from there on, you can send orders into the thing, just like you could do in Binance, right? You can make multiple orders, limit orders, execute market, whatever you want, withdraw, deposit. It should be fairly seamless. And so there was specific questions when you get into that sort of thing, and we've been working on those. And then looking forward, converting it all into ZK and having it super duper scalable. Yeah, there are a few people, like DYDX is one that's kind of done that. They moved off of Ethereum into Cosmos, I think, to their own little subchain, which I think was a bad decision. But and then there's Zigzag. Yeah, and then the last one is Zigzag. Those are the two big ones. But I think even so, I think there are ways to make those better with ZK Tech, which is what our plan is, using ZK to scale this up, potentially keeping it private as well. Where can that go? Like if we intersect that with compliance, we're talking about compliance as well, then potentially you can actually replace Binance as a whole, because you do require compliance for certain use cases. Like if you are accredited investors, you want to invest in securities or whatnot, we could start thinking about this DEX being a ZK version of Binance, but with full compliance done, with fully trustlessly. The rule sets are checked in the back end, and anyone can run those rule sets and audit that they're done properly. So it really is pretty exciting when it comes to like solving these problems and having them actually serve real world use cases. Up to this point, like up to last year, was all really theoretical. That okay, ZK Tech is going to come and we can do these things, we could solve them. But we're seeing it right in front of our eyes. Like these last few months, Hermes has said that they could do 10 million gas in 2.5 minutes, and 10 million gas is tens of thousands of transactions. So the times are coming down, the cost is going down. They're running $7 per hour AWS hardware to run their testnet, and it's running fine. And so is ZK Sync. We expect those numbers to keep going down to a point where the decentralized cost model that I keep talking about will kick in, where you'll open that up to a market where you have a computing market where anyone can get involved and put their resources into practice. So if I have a computer that's fairly powerful, I can get paid to keep running the computation for someone, and that will enable massive scalability as well as security at the same time. You won't need to ever put your money into a centralized exchange again.
Jag, I was about to interrupt you, and maybe I should say pardon me for saying, but you mentioned that this could potentially replace something like a Binance, but really, if you look at it, it could be much bigger than that. And maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, this is something that technically and theoretically could replace what we currently look at as the stock market.
Yeah, exactly. Global public markets, private debt, public debt, all that stuff, as well as going public or trading existing stocks or tickers or any assets. Because again, you don't want to have any barrier of entry. So anything can trade, and it opens up global barriers. For those, you definitely need compliance though, because it requires, these will probably be like, I don't know, tokenized real estate or tokenized companies, private debt coming in that requires certain amount of investor limitations. Like, for, I don't know, in Canada, I think you can do a private offering of up to 150 people. If you go over 150 people, then it becomes a public offering, which requires you to go into a public exchange. So these sorts of rules, without us totally disrupting the regulation and stuff, if we're going to fit into the sandbox, these sort of rules need to be adhered to. But again, like because of the ZK Tech, we can write all these rules in ZK and have them comply. And it's not some single person that's checking these things or acquiring custody or anything like that. So yeah. It does open up a lot of doors.
Yeah, I think I think if it weren't for a solution like this, we would continue to have this impasse between regulatory bodies and crypto. But with a dialectical solution, basically, where that's opt-in, I think we'll finally be able to step beyond this, go into the next phase, and then down the road. And I think you agree, Jag, like maybe a decade or so down the road, the perspective on regulations will shift, in my opinion, where people will begin, instead of saying how do these digital assets fit within our regulations, people will instead be saying, where do regulations fit with a decentralized world? So the whole matter will be reversed. But Miss Teen, it looks like you have your hand up, so if you have something to add, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask because you brought up the stock market, and of course, like we saw something like, I think Binance, if I'm correct, did something like a tokenized stock, and I always envisioned the stock market being tokenized because I think that's just how everything's going to head. It's just a digital way, self custody. Would this theoretical stock market we're talking about here have like someone have the ability to halt trading on a stock? Because I feel like that's one of the big faults of the stock market versus crypto, where crypto's 24/7 an open market where everything just continuously goes, versus the stock market, it's only open certain hours and people halt trading on stocks when things don't go their way. So I was just going to ask you guys, like, would that be something that is applied to a stock market built on Syscoin?
So down the road, we'll get to a point where things like stock markets are completely decentralized and things maybe can't be halted, right? But in the meantime, I think with regulatory requirements and things like that are imposed upon enterprise, that there is some degree of gatekeeping involved there. So theoretically, yes, someone would be able to halt trading on a specific asset if they were running the rules and doing the checks and providing the signatures on the transactions or the interactions with that asset, right? But the point is that all of that is opt-in. So if you want to play in that stock market that's subject to regulations, then you go in knowing that, right? But the fact of the matter, and I guess what's really important, is that all of that traditional financial paradigm is able to interact with and benefit from public, open, permissionless blockchain at the base layer, right? So we basically provide a way for them to come in and take advantage of blockchain, and then I think, as I said before, things will evolve the next step past that, which is when there will be even more decentralization, take over what used to be traditional finance and enterprise.
I think the Lego blocks are just unsafe today for public DeFi, for anything of that sort of scale, where if you're not a sophisticated enough investor, you're going to get it handed to you, basically, because of just the hackers having a field day with the smart contract engineers not being up to par. It's just too complex. There's no proper templates built. Some of the stuff we're working with DAOSys is to make the treasury management system really super secure in the smart contract world, and that can layer into Aave and Compound and all these other guys that are leveraging their own treasury management systems. In our ecosystem, we're going to have this super secure treasury management mechanism that will make it secure, but it will require many years for that to be really trusted by large players. So having that, sort of a compliance layer, like I was saying, it's going to be a theme. I think it's going to be a requirement from public trust perspective, because the hacks are not going to stop. As long as people keep putting money into this public DeFi and the smart contracts are not figured out yet properly, there will always be hacks. But at least in the custodial side or non-custodial compliance side, there will be mitigations around figuring out what happened, because you will have brokers will have access to the information of who's involved there. And again, like, once we figure out the Lego blocks and make these things more secure and the treasury management systems are done properly, then at that point, people will start to make their own decisions to say, no, you know what, like, the public DeFi is more value for me. Maybe there's more liquidity on there or whatnot, or more use cases. So I'd like to play on there instead of the regulated sandbox, because there's too many gatekeepings, or I don't know, for whatever reason, the compliance solutions start to be outperformed by the public solutions. I think there is a case where the compliance solutions today will outperform public, just because of the fact that you'll have the protection from users in case something bad happens.
That was awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for attending and asking.
Of course, I'm happy to be here. I've been wanting to meet the Syscoin fam for a little while, and I was like really happy to see you guys in the space today.
Sweet, yeah, it's nice meeting you. We've I know I came across a lot of your content. Was it like 2 or 3 years? Are you still a teen, Misty?
Almost no. I have less than a month and a half left until I'm no longer a teen. I'll be 20 soon, but I've been in this space for almost 3 years now.
Yeah,
Miss 20 crypto coming in.
What are you gonna change your name to? Can you drop that alpha? Do you get to keep that Miss Teen? It doesn't feel right being 20.
But yeah, and again, I just want to go back to Jag saying again, because when he started like describing the sort of the vision of this new, like, should I call it this new, like, DEX, my mind was kind of like blown, because he started talking about private debt and real estate and all this kind of stuff, and I'm just like, am I the only one who's like getting like how like big this is, or I have to question myself and then go like Google if someone else is doing this. Like, why isn't he as excited as I am about this stuff? But
It's because a lot of it's potential based, right? And here's the beautiful, beautiful thing about the bear market. And I came in like at the bull market, right? Like officially on the Syscoin team. And I noticed like we'd go to these conferences and we'd talk to potential partners, and they're more all about the money because there's so much money to go around. And I get it. That's fine. But the beautiful thing now is that people are listening to us and they see, okay, not everyone has money to just go around and deploy on, multiple chains. They're not giving out, tons of money like they were before. So now what sells them? The tech, the futuristic vision. And when we're able to explain, and pardon me if I sound a little bit haughty, but I think it's well deserved, our superiority as a proof of work modular chain, then it's a much easier, I don't want to say much easier sell, but it just makes more sense to use our blockchain. So all the pieces are getting put together, and I'm just very excited, honestly, about the bear market. We could be poor or whatever, but when when the next bull market comes, we're going to be very, very well positioned.
Yeah, we do have that strong proof of work narrative. It's always a good idea to add, though, that we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater with proof of stake. We just feel that at layer one, at the lowest level of layer one, it really should be secured by proof of work, right? And we take some proof of stake elements and use that to enhance the security on top as something additive. And I think proof of stake is useful as well for layers above that, like rollups and things like that.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean,
it's all about the design.
You have to understand proof of stake for what it is. It's great pumponomics. If you have something with that could be deflationary, and then you can also like reduce the supply by I don't know, having people stake it on some sort of like protocol. Then it's just great for the price of the the assets or whatever, right? It might be terrible for, like I was talking about earlier, currencies shouldn't be treated as commodities. They should be like free flowing, right, to enable the transactions that are going on in the platform. But then if you have like Ethereum is trying to capture the growth in value that a commodity brings, and also like the use case of like a currency, and put it together, and that's what it is, right? I feel like they're not going to come out and say, oh yeah, we want to have a bigger market cap than Bitcoin in the next bull market, but this is the plan. We're going to have this great system where the pumponomics is going to be insane, and just buy Ethereum and hold it, right? But that's how I think about it, and that's kind of like I've accepted that that's what they're going for, right? If you want that kind of ideology in your protocol, sure, go ahead, right? Thankfully there's other options that we can choose, right? But if you want to, don't like just kind of like see people for what they are and accept them for what they are and stop trying to like change them. It's great pumponomics. Who cares about security? Let's moon it, and that's kind of what like that's what's taken over like the Ethereum ecosystem. Everything is like what can we pump and make money. So
Yeah, I think the intersection between securities and currency is gonna come to play when we open some of these solutions up. I personally think like the stock market, every company will end up like it's just a better model if you have an FTT sort of solution where instead of a centralized company buying up services, it'll be smart contract driven. So, for example, like I have IBM, and if they instead of being listed on the stock market, they have an IBM token, and their services are consumed using blockchain, the smart contract automatically buys a percentage fee in the IBM token. Now, there's a reason for existence for IBM tokens, similar to the FTT token. It was widely successful, but the problem was FTX were cooking the books. If you have smart contracts, you can't cook the books. The service fees automatically applied into that token. The speculation of that token could or couldn't be on these compliant dexes. That's where I think the securities market will really benefit from this technology. Like I just keep viewing the existing stock market as an archaic legacy sort of system where you're recording things by hand and that everything is kind of paper. To digitization of that with blockchain would be having the company actually represented as an asset, digital asset that's tradable on the blockchain, and the smart contracts are consuming the service that will pay the fee automatically, buying them on the order book dexes to the pumponomics gets built into the revenue model of that company itself. So everything IBM does that produces revenue should produce a positive outcome for their token, which is an up-only token.
Yeah, that's an incredible idea, Jack. I had kind of a similar idea with the concept of a Walmart token that Walmart would use as a clearinghouse every single time. Theoretically, that someone would make a purchase of an item in the store using whatever U.S. dollar, Canadian dollar, whatever. It would liquidate that and purchase, or at least in some portion, and purchase a Walmart token. But yeah, similar concept.
I mean, I see no reason for having yourself listed on a public market. If both options existed, the digital token version would always, I think, would outperform the one that is heavily regulated. So I think that's where the world is going to end up going. As soon as we can prove out that the regulation of the back end of the blockchain is possible, you'll start to see a lot of excitement there. I know people have tried that. The Australian Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange have been trying to tinker with these things, but they haven't really found the right recipe to plug into the public blockchain side. It's all been private blockchains and private infrastructure, or forked databases, if you will. But I think once this is figured out in the next couple of years, and that's what I'm saying, it's rounding up to form. It's not going to happen overnight. Once we figure out in this next couple of years, you're going to see the public markets really taking a big leap into this stuff, and that's where it's going to get really exciting, because people can then go into small private debt deals and tokenize those and make companies out of those as well. You won't have to be $1 billion cap to join the race at that point.
Yeah, amazing. We've had a lot of really great discussion, so I'm going to sort of check the sentiment of the room. You guys think we should wrap it up here?
Yeah, I want to go eat, bro.
I hear you.
I think it was an amazing conversation. We had a good variety of different topics and questions. We had the one kid coming with the conspiracy theories, and then we got in the weeds with Miss Teen Crypto. Great to have her on stage. Got into the Syscoin ecosystem. I think it was a real good conversation. I'm very much interested in the replay value. If you guys want, I can show you how to download the audio from here. Maybe we can upload this someplace else so it's easier for people to listen to. Maybe it's SoundCloud or some podcast format. I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think so too.
Want to Bull's not in the room anymore. I also want to thank him for his the little contest that we're going to do for that. So keep a lookout for that for more information coming out on that for the 100,000 Masternode giveaway.
You can't say enough about that. Who just comes in here and says, I'm going to give away $10,000 to someone who's smart and learns their Syscoin? That's freaking amazing. I love Bull.
Right on.
Yeah, he's just gonna have to change his name to Sysbull now, and then that's it.
We'll get him there.
Okay. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for having me on. It's want to be. I think this is like my 5th space that I've ever done or spoken in or whatever, and it's pretty much one of the best ones. So shout out everyone for showing up, and shout out for
I have
shout
one
out
last
the team. Yeah, go ahead.
for Jag. I'm homeschooling my kids. I have one kid who has an affinity for coding. Where do I have him start when it comes to coding on the blockchain? Is there a resource or something like that?
I mean, I think blockchain coding is an abstraction on top of traditional concepts. I think it'd be good to learn the traditional concepts. Don't get too into the weeds of any specific language, but I would probably start with C++. I know it's one of the harder ones, but once you get that one, then there's 2 books I can recommend on the abstraction of ideas related to coding, design patterns. The design patterns are really universal. Like when you're getting into programming, all of the patterns you use between engineers, you talk about factory patterns or these sort of things. People get what you're trying to do. Those are critical. And then you get into the blockchain on top of that, which is distributed networking and security and decentralized security across network nodes and cryptography, a mixture of cryptography with how it secures networking. The P2P side and the consensus is a little bit different. That's a whole different world. Typically I would say you have to understand the basics of programming, probably the basics of a little bit of a cryptography, and then apply those concepts with distributed computing or networking. For on the programming side, there's a little bit of philosophy on design patterns and coding practices before you even get into it. So I'll give you those 2 books to grab from the idea perspective, and then C++, any coding academy that can teach you that would be good, where you can tinker with and create your first programs. Your first useful program will probably be in JavaScript. You can always get into JavaScript after that. I wouldn't recommend jumping into JavaScript right away because you won't understand really the engine. It hides a lot of complicated things for you that you probably should understand. And then blockchain after that. So it's probably a 1 to 3 year journey to get him up to being dangerous or useful, but it's definitely worth it. Like once you're there, then the sky's the limit after that. You can really develop anything you want.
Hey, I homeschool too, Patrick, and one thing I've learned is you have to pique their interest, right? If your child is already interested in programming, that's huge. So and you want to make it fun and interesting for them, at least initially, until you can kind of once their interest increases more, get them more into the serious stuff. But Crypto Zombies is pretty cool. If you want to learn the just rudimentary basics of Solidity, programming smart contracts for Ethereum, Crypto Zombies is really good. And it's actually part of the Syscoin documentation. If you go to docs.syscoin.org, some of the guides there will sort of provide a very simple introduction to Solidity.
I was actually just going to bring up crypto zombies too. I discovered that a long time ago, and I was like, I started to do it, but then I fell off. But I think it's really cool for people that really want to learn and get into it, because the way they approach it, I was doing a few courses. It's pretty simple, and it's really cute how they have you set up your little zombie. So I just want to throw that out there. It's appealing for kids.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, everybody. I think we're going to wrap it up at this point. We really appreciate everyone coming. I hope everyone that wanted to speak got an opportunity too. If you didn't, we'll have more spaces, of course, in the very near future. And you can always comment and hop into our Discord or what have you. The Syscoin community is always pretty busy, and there's going to be someone ready to speak with you, especially if you have any questions about the protocol, coinomics, or anything like that. So again, thanks for joining, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Bye.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for having me. It was great to meet you guys. Have a happy new year.